Live, and we are back in the jungles of Costa Rica. Thank you all for joining us today. We're going to get in the habit of trying to do this frequently, but for now we're just going to go into the regulars, and we've got a little bit of news. Apparently Cryptopia was having some security issues, so we'll just I guess kind of exit with that one, but we'll start off by looking at the charts. Again, one of the reasons why I like this is fundamentally we're looking at fractals, harmonics, and human emotion in a very logical way, and all of those things combined are actually fairly entertaining. So with that in mind, let's mute that so this doesn't happen. Throw up some of these charts here. So let's see, there we go. Bam. Actually, let's just take a look at it. We'll start with Coingecko here to rough overview. Again, you've got Bitcoin number one, which is what we'd like to see. But nonetheless, the price moves over the last while haven't been incredibly noticeable. Again, you've got Ethereum 28-day, and you've got Litecoin around $32. Now, Bitcoin's still hovering around the $3,600 area, depending on what chart you're looking at. Obviously, those change depending on the exchanges you're peering into. So, the Bitcoin US dollar perpetual swap. One of the reasons why I'm interested in and why I've been looking at these particular charts on BitMEX instead of the usual Coinbase or something like that is I believe the volatility of getting wrecked is actually a sharper indicator into price moves. So I've just been watching the perpetual swap contracts on the future charts because I think it has a little bit more, let's say, premonition to the idea. Anyways, nonetheless, we still see this descending. This bearish flag does not look good here. I do suspect that this will break down again. We'll probably see one more bounce off of the 100-day moving average here. We've got 2 sharp ones so far. So I would suspect 1 or 2 more bounces off this and in between the 55-day moving average before we drop down again. But it's just going to be, looks like staircases down for the next few months. Now, same with Litecoin. We had originally anticipated that it would go, where did we draw down to? Let's look at it in the larger time frame, and then look at the volume profile support fills. Those are always, I've really fallen in love with that particular indicator. I know it's fairly simple to understand why it can be so valuable. Look at the Litecoin to USD chart here. This is this massive spike, and then we've got this return actually right down to this area, and this is nice to see, but there's a big volume profile support fill right between $30 and $23. Now if it breaks down below that, anywhere between $14 and $19 are the next fills. So I think a big part of this question comes down to what type of stress does an economic downturn in every single market signal to speculative assets, even though they're extremely valuable, or more in this particular case, undervalued. Then most things that are undervalued because they're overlooked. It's like underestimating your opponent, I think, to some degree, and that's essentially what's happening. I think that will continue to happen as the markets fall. So even though there's a lot of support right on this $20 layer for Litecoin, there is reason to think it could drop all the way down to 15 and maybe even a little lower. Now, I'm not going to be too interested in if it goes lower. Around the $9 or $10 area would be the final layer of support between that and the $2 that it started off in 2017. So Litecoin has another 1 or 2 drops it could make. Will it? I'm not sure. You just see such corollary responses in each of these ecosystems. Here again, you can see almost the exact dates. November 10th, we started to drop down. Same with Bitcoin, and we've made a very similar bounce. So it seems as though the market and the Bitcoin ecosystem moves as a whole up and down. We had followed those trends last year, and as you've seen in this last little while, there's actually incredible gains that can be made even off these bounces. So for instance, Litecoin is down from a significantly higher high here. Let's see, what did it peak out at? We had candle wicks all the way up to $400. That's absolutely incredible. That's almost insanity. So this return to the significantly lower area, I think, is positive. And this was just one of the more noticeable bouts of the appreciation of value. And I say this because I believe that value and the appreciation of value is actually in itself a privilege. It's not until you're out of the form of survival where you can now attest to different levels of value outside of that regular am I going to live through the day scenario. And with that in mind, that's why I think it's a privilege. So if the appreciation of value, not just the going up of it, but the actual understanding of what value is, comes to a larger sentiment or ahead, we're going to see these really these massive spikes. Again, for Litecoin to have gone to $420 $360, this was incredible. And this was just some of the first waves that will come into this market. Now, in Tyler Jenks and Tone Vei's view, I agree with them that there's layers of what you would want something to be used for. Now, for instance, the wire transfer system is what I appear the US dollar as for those particular circumstances. This is how the majority of the world money moves still. So when I look at the way currencies are printed by each country, this is a different form of currency, which is not money. And I've always long suspected that their cable of commerce would require multiple forms of currency and potentially only one form of remittance. So if Bitcoin were to become a remittance standard, that's quadrillions of dollars per year in movement, which is again very much so separated from the movement of the way cash functions on a day-to-day basis, and the transaction level is actually smaller, even though there's a lot more transactions. So again, I think that there's a cable of commerce that will come to light here in the long term, but how that happens, I'm not exactly sure. So with Litecoin, even though we've come down from significantly higher highs back in December of 2017, that doesn't necessarily mean that this run is over for everything in this space. Will Bitcoin shake off the barnacles per se? Yes, I actually would hope so. There's always in the nascent growth of an ecosystem other weeds that end up in the garden, and you should weed your garden. I actually spent most of the morning down there digging holes in the greenhouse so that I could plant something that would grow without the weeds in it. So it's a very valuable sentiment, and I do agree. We'll lose a lot because we don't need it. But I think the healthy argument, again, was, as I had said yesterday, that if I like Von Zippers or you like Ray-Bans or vice versa, there's always room for competition. And it creates a healthy ecosystem. Now, I actually would encourage more competition and not regulations that break down monopolies, but at least more intelligently self-governed corporations, so that the benefit of the whole was dramatically increased. Now, again, this is why I'm more interested in the philosophy about some of this stuff than I am just specifically the price movements, is that these can be big game changers for everybody. So anyways, let's take a look at Ethereum now as a long-winded rant on Litecoin's purpose there. And same with Ethereum. I think that having a smart contract basis layer connected to a currency and a money system can be really powerful and very beneficial. You can have these three function together almost as I would imagine an AC wire, where you have a positive or lead, a negative, and then a ground wire to help transfer this data information. The ideas of atomic swaps. We have instant translations. I can speak in one language and it can be translated into another, probably an innumerable amount that I don't know at this particular moment. So to think that we would need just one is kind of antithetical to where we are now. I think diversity is a beautiful thing. It creates strength in different understandings. So anyways, into Ethereum, I think it has that smart contract layer, or more so the contract layer, that we can add, again, not increasing the risk that was on Bitcoin's initial protocol layer. So nonetheless, I think there's a lot of value in this stuff from the conceptual standpoint. So that's why I keep my eyes on as much of it as possible. So Ethereum, again, we've had this nice, what looks like a B wave, and you see that it's doing the same thing Litecoin did. It followed Bitcoin's trajectory pretty much to the T the last few bounces, and I suspect that that will stay the same. Now, if we see a similar bounce on the next move for Bitcoin, that could be another 100% gain for Ethereum. Now, this type of quick move in and out is, well, not always something you would want to do, because it takes a lot of time and energy. But if you're interested in doing so, because this is not financial advice, these are significantly impactful waves still, regardless of the fact that we've come down from the all-time high. So keeping a close eye on the space, I think, is just in itself fun. So we're going to leave it at that. We're going to see if these play out and follow the 9. I'm just going to leave them drawn in. We'll refer to it back every day, and we'll kind of update on the progress. We'll start to do the coins that you guys are interested in. With that in mind, I want to go over a few things. Remember to smash that thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit that little bell. We will be bringing a few more pieces of content online as we get settled into Costa Rica here, so I look forward to that. We've got some backlog videos of the last orphanage that we went to that I'm editing up, and so that's fun. A little bit more difficult though, because I'm the only one speaking. But anyways, the trials and tribulations of being an artist. So that's super exciting, because we are actually proving some of the concepts that we had originally set out to do with Arcane Bear. So I'm deeply grateful to all the Bear family to being so supportive of all this crazy change. So I'm going to dive in. I'm going to take a few of your guys' a few of the Bear family's questions here. Hopefully make sure that everything was working, to some degree at least. So part of the question I think I want to ask is, should these shows be at later at night or earlier in the morning like we're doing? I think I'm going to try the later at night ones tomorrow and just see how it goes, and try to keep a consistent daily show somewhere between either 8 a.m. or 4 p.m. So you guys let me know if you have any thoughts on what time we should be doing the show. That'll be helpful, because I want to make sure we can be as effective as possible with the time use that we have here, because I like spending the mornings down in the garden. So it's almost, although sunsets around 4 or 5, so it's one of those tricky ones where, like, both of those times a day between sunrise and sunset, those are great times a day. Let's see. It is fun to surf the waves, yes, right? Okay, that's it. We're just going to end the show like that today. I hope that was streaming smoothly. Still getting settled back into the house here. I guess we'll see you guys on the other side.